Rainy conditions and not wearing seatbelts are being blamed for an early morning accident. More on that. Plus, Democratic Jasper Mayor candidate Wayne Sheeter is promising less spending and more economic development if he's elected. And part one of Bill Potter's two-part interview with Crisis Connection tonight on Informed. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with a three-vehicle accident on Jasper's south side that resulted in 4 people being taken to Memorial Hospital this morning, 2 of which were later taken to an Evansville hospital with serious injuries. Jasper police say at 9:40 a.m. an SUV driven by 59-year-old Sylvia Seabold of French Lick was going southbound on Meridian Road approaching State Road 162. At the same time as a second SUV being driven by 32-year-old Lindsay Kennedy of Jasper was westbound on State Road 162. And a third vehicle driven by 63-year-old Stan Rui of Jasper was eastbound on 162 in the turn lane, trying to turn north onto Meridian Road. Police say Seabold disregarded the stop sign at the intersection and drove into Kennedy's path, whose vehicle hit the driver's side of Seabold's SUV. That impact caused Kennedy's vehicle to spin around and hit the right front of Rue's vehicle. Seabold and a backseat passenger, 63-year-old Joyce Jones of French Lick, both suffered multiple injuries. They were initially taken to Memorial Hospital by ambulance before being transferred to St. Mary's Medical Center in Evansville. A front seat passenger, 60-year-old Marion Nelson, also of French Lick, was transported to Memorial Hospital with multiple injuries. Police did not release the severity of those injuries. Meanwhile, Lindsay Kennedy complained of neck pain and was taken to Memorial for treatment. Rue escaped without injury. Jasper Assistant Police Chief Nathan Schmidt says this morning's rainy conditions likely played a role.
It's just overcast and it's just lack of visibility. You know, it's misting out here. People can't react as quick, and when they do react, the vehicles don't necessarily respond appropriately on the wet pavement as it would as it was dry, so sure.
Police also say Kennedy and Rue were wearing seatbelts at the time of the accident. However, Seabold and her 2 passengers were not. Police note that the use of seatbelts would have reduced the severity of their injuries. Jasper Democratic Mayor candidate Wayne Sheeter says if he's elected, one of the key areas he'll focus on is reining in spending while continuing the city's economic development. Sheeter is pointing to recent budget talks in the city as a sign of concern about ongoing spending. He says there needs to be more of an eye to the future when Jasper officials put together their budget.
We had to cut $900,000 this year out of our budget. Of course, budgets are wish list and you have to cut them back, but with the tax cap, the growth of tax revenues is going to be limited. So I think Jasper's been fortunate in that we haven't felt the squeeze of the tax cap and increased cost. And think going forward, you need to really make sure you take into consideration any future development, any developments going on, what is going to be the impact on future costs before you make the final decision.
Of course, part of the city's budget discussions this year included cuts made to police, park, and street department budget line items. The $900,000 cut was needed due to tax revenues that are in decline thanks to state property tax caps. On the economic development front, Sheeter praised the city's tax abatement program for the most part. However, he says there are some changes to that program that he would make.
I think the tax abatement program has worked, is working. I think it has, shows that the ability to give companies abatement to help them improve, expand, and create jobs is good. I do think it needs to be evaluated and perhaps modified. I was a little bit shocked when we had a company that missed their goals on jobs by 70 and didn't have much impact on their points for their abatement. So I think we need to take a look at that program that's worked well, but maybe adjust it and modify it to make it even more effective.
Sheeter is also continuing to voice his concerns about the city's recently implemented TIF district. He says TIF can be an effective tool, but the current district is too large to be effective. On a final note, Sheeter says there needs to be a change in approach when it comes to workforce development in our area. He says that change will have to come at the corporate level.
The companies need to also understand they need to go in and recruit students. They need to let students know what jobs are available, what jobs will be available in the next 2 to 4 years, especially for juniors and seniors who are trying to make that decision exactly what they're going to do with. So I think I think we're on the right track as far as education getting them ready, but I think industry needs to understand they also have a role to play.
Sheeter says small businesses will also play a role in the future, and he says if elected, he will concentrate more effort on helping people locally who are wanting to start their own business. The start of school also marks the beginning of budget season for local school districts, and the Southeast DuBois District has unveiled its next spending plan. Last night, the Southeast DuBois School Board learned that 2016's total budget will be somewhere around $11 million, almost the same as this year. Superintendent Rick Allen says the maximum levy will be around $4 million with a tax rate almost identical to this year's. The 2015 tax rate for Southeast DuBois was $1.07 per $100 of assessed value. Allen says though he's mostly happy with the budget, he does have some funding concerns.
The state of Indiana funds the general fund, and we always have concerns about that because there's no property tax dollars go to the general fund, which pays for about 90% of people and benefits. And then the property taxes are still collected on a calendar year basis.
On an additional note, Allen says the corporation is in good shape with its capital projects and bus replacement funds. He says the district has done a good job of planning ahead for various needs in those areas. Now, the state of Indiana has touted $474 million in new funding for K-12 schools as part of the recently passed two-year budget. Allen says the Southeast DuBois District will see a boost of around $56,000 a year to the next two budgets as a result of this funding. The district currently gets about $7.3 million in state funding. Allen says there's also good news about school enrollment that can only help the budget this year and maybe even beyond.
When we left school in May with our graduating seniors, we expected our enrollment to be down about 16, and as of yesterday we were only down about 6. So we're having more move-ins than move-outs, which is always positive.
Now, the Southeast DuBois budget will be advertised through an online service known as Gateway, which Allen says is part of new state procedure designed to keep up with the times. A public hearing on the budget will be held at the board's next meeting in September, and it's expected to be adopted at the board's October meeting. And finally tonight, our condolences to the family of Sarah Margaret Schrader. Schrader passed away yesterday morning at the age of 83. Schrader was the wife of Bill Schrader, who became the second person to ever receive the Jarvik Artificial Heart in November of 1984. He survived 620 days, the longest to date that anyone has ever lived on an artificial heart. He died in August of 1986 after battling a lung infection and a series of strokes. Schrader is survived by 2 daughters, 4 sons, a sister, a brother, 12 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. Funeral services are 9:30 Saturday morning at St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Jasper, with burial to follow in Fairview Cemetery. Friends can call from 2 till 8 p.m. tomorrow at Jasper's Becker-Kleesner Downtown Chapel. All right, coming up after the break, the rain and clouds will be moving out soon, and later, part 1 of Bill Potter's interview with Crisis Connection. We're back after this.